Becoming an artist, the journey continues. So this time I just want to talk about print-on-demand sites. Have you ever used print-on-demand sites to either buy products or sell your artwork onto products? For anyone that doesn't know, basically a print-on-demand site will allow you to upload your artwork and then to buy that artwork on specific products, whether it's mouse mats or water bottles or t-shirts, stickers, things like that. The first time I ever used a print-on-demand site was probably, I think, back in 2012. The second one I used, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video, is Society6. So Society6, that's the second site I used. That was back in 2013. So I'd used this site for, well, a long time, and I want to just talk about, was it worth it? Was it worth signing up? What was the result over a prolonged period of time for these websites? Because the trouble is, you sign up for a website like this and you'll make a royalty percentage on each sale, but it might only be a few pence, a few cents. You might need to kind of consider playing the long game, or at least that's my understanding. And maybe it might take 3, 4, 5 years to sort of recoup the initial investment in time that you spent creating the web store and selling on it, etc. So you're playing the long game with this. But so Society6, I've been on there for a while. I wrote a blog post about this years ago. This was back at the end of 2013, just basically talking about how I signed up. I spent about a week uploading a portfolio of maybe 20 of my images up to Society6, and then making it available on different products that they had at the time. And then it took a while, and eventually I made my first sale. I got, I think, $3.50. I was like, okay, well, there you go. Something happens. There was some movement. It wasn't just a complete dead end, but as far as the goal to become a full-time artist, a professional full-time artist, $3.50 isn't going to cut it. And over the years, I did make a little bit more, but I'm just going to say it wasn't worth it. So the trouble with Society6 initially was that it was a bit of a popularity contest. And the way a lot of these sites work is, if you're on the front page or the first few pages of their web store, then you're going to get a look in. People are going to find your products. People can potentially buy your products. The way this site used to work is that whoever was at the front of the queue basically got their products sold, and then it kind of got to a point where the more products you sold, the more you'd be pushed to the front of the queue. So it was almost a case of, if you got in there first, you could then start selling your products, and then that sale could then boost the sort of ranking of your products to be featured, in subsequent months, years, or whatever. But then anyone who sort of was trying to enter into the sort of popularity contest after that was going to struggle, because they would be at the bottom of the rankings. No one would see their images, and therefore no one would buy their products. As far as I know, I think most people, maybe not most, but I think quite a few people, artists that would use a site like this, they would basically put their items up, and then they would buy their own products. They would buy their own mugs and stickers and water bottles or whatever, and that would help rank their products. But it wasn't really done for that. It was just probably because artists were excited and keen to see their artwork on an actual product. It's all good and well creating stuff sort of in isolation, just putting it on a sheet of paper, a canvas, a digital canvas, whatever. But when you actually see it on a tangible product, it's quite exciting. And I think a lot of artists are just keen to have that thrill of seeing a product. But when you're doing that, you're not really, you're not really helping yourself ultimately, because the idea is for other people to buy your products, and you make money from that rather than spending out your own money to buy your products, which, I mean, some people want to see what the quality is like before they then recommend it to their small group of sort of friends, family, followers, or whatever on social media. But ultimately, I think a site like this is going to probably make a lot of money just through the artists themselves buying the products that these platforms will then put onto products and send out. So anyway, it didn't really seem to work for me. And then recently I got an email basically saying that you've been booted from the platform. So basically said, hope this message finds you well, as we continue to evolve, we're making strategic changes to our marketplace structure that better align with the current market dynamics and customer preferences. While our community has grown to include over 400,000 artists, that's an insane amount, isn't it? An incredible diverse catalogue, we've decided to operate more on a focused brand with a smaller group of artists. Regrettably, after careful consideration, various factors, including market trends and customer needs, blah, 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 we decided your account wouldn't be included in the curated group of artists moving forward, starting on March 18th, 2025. And I'm kind of like, well, you know what? It's annoying because I was making a tiny bit of money every year. So year on year, I would just make a little something. This year I hadn't made anything, but 2024, I'll just go for a few numbers here. And like I say, it is a small amount of money. So, you know, it might be the difference between buying me a coffee that year or buying me a meal in a restaurant that year and not. You know, it's not going to necessarily pay the rent. But it's, when you've got enough of these print-on-demand platforms all adding just a little bit, it starts to get to the point where it's like, oh, okay, we're starting to see some kind of money that is making the whole venture in its entirety worth it. Because I currently put my artwork on, I don't know, about half a dozen different sort of royalty-style print-on-demand licensing website product listings and things like that. So Society6 is just one. It was one of the less profitable ones, but it's still quite annoying for it to be gone. So 2024, I made like £3.93, 2023, £19.55, 2022, £22.56, 2021, £34.55, 2020, £25.55, going down to 2013, which was £2.13. Per year so far, since 2013, that's been about £12.61 on average each year. So like I say, it's not a great amount of money. That's a total of £151.27. So it took me about a week to put my shop up of just existing products. And then I think over the sort of plus decade of having kind of been a part of this venture, I probably put in another week into uploading a few more designs. It got to a point where I had I kind of just wanted to test things. These websites for me, they're always testers. It's like, let's see what would happen if I do this. And then if it starts to pick up, I'd put more into it. But yeah, since 2013, I put 2 weeks into the entire process. So I'm not surprised that, things didn't really work out. And because if they were working out, I would have put more into it. But yeah, like these Sugar Skull Girl images that I've got here. This is just an example of like what things look like on prints or wall hangings or curtains and pillows, chairs, stuff that just doesn't really even properly work. So it was just this sort of like character art. This stuff kind of was there, and I'd sell the occasional product. It's funny though how people thought, you know what, yes, I'd like that artwork and I would like it as a pair of shower curtains or something. And it's like, wow, it's interesting just kind of learning what people would actually want or pay money for. But in the end, the website itself kind of, like they said in their email, it really did kind of change to this kind of womanly, feminine girl website. And I could tell even several years ago, like at first it seemed to just be whoever's popular are popular. But then several years ago, they started curating the sort of offerings, and you could tell it was women coming on board with sort of female sensibilities, creating artwork that was sort of by women for women. And you can tell just looking at the page now, it's that kind of vibe. So this is more. It was more creating this kind of like patterns and clip art with a sort of pastel colours basically. So there's a lot of sort of. I don't know how else to describe it other than this sort of clip art style. This sort of very sort of typical modern illustrator clip arty flat tone with pastels, and there's a certain vibe to it that I see it that a lot of sort of illustration portfolios tend to offer. And yeah, it's just a very girl-centric type of thing, or womanly centric type of thing. And obviously what I was doing was not fitting in here. So I'm completely cool with them basically saying, no, we don't want you to be a part of this thing because we're going in a certain direction. But this seems to be a bit of a trend with a lot of these types of websites. They really do cater for a certain sort of demographic, and it's just a bit of a shame that I'm not part of it. Yeah, so I kind of feel like I genuinely have a bit more of a mission to become this sort of full-time artist, when the sort of people that perhaps are being catered for, or certainly the sort of people who are perhaps buying artwork, are generally going to be women. And I don't think my style really aligns with women. I think I would be better off applying what I do to video games, films, comics and manga and stuff like that, rather than home decor. Yet, home decor is more the type of thing that I would like to do, because it just seems like the better path. It seems easier, less, like I could create an entire comic that would be made up of several images, several frames per page over the course of, 20 pages, 25, 30 pages maybe. And I would have to do several of those to make a small comic mini-series or something. Or I could create one single standalone image, and that could go on to sell for perhaps even more than a comic, a little independent comic would do. So partly it's that. Partly my style, I kind of think, just being a perfectionist, being someone who likes to take their time with what they're producing, that isn't how comics are made. That isn't how concept art is made. It's all boom, boom, boom. We've got to get this done quickly. We can't faff around with the details or making the lines as crisp as possible or whatever it is. So yeah, I kind of feel like I kind of know what I want to do, but again, it's sort of the reality kind of hits you in the face when you realise that men don't really buy art. Men don't really aren't really being catered for on the internet. Certainly not on these sites. Having said that, there are more male-centric print-on-demand art websites like Displate, for example, which are more for sort of young, geeky, video game playing, movie watching guys. So I sell on Displate as well. To be fair, that is where I make about an amount of money worth having invested the time into uploading the artwork and going through all that sort of process. So anyway, that's Society6. So I guess my question is, like, would you ever use or buy from a website like this? Have you ever put artwork up yourself, and what has been your experience? I'd quite be interested to know. If you're an artist, you've used these sort of websites before, if you've had success or if you haven't, because I can just talk about my experience. And yeah, there's good ones and bad ones. There's print-on-demand sites like this, which, I've made thousands of pounds at, and there's ones which obviously I've been lucky to make, a small trickle of funds. But I kind of think it's very reflective of our times, how things just are changing. It's like when you finally get an email basically saying you've been booted from the platform and we're not going to sort of support you as an artist anymore. Yeah, it just sort of feels like, well, it feels like the kind of beginning of the end. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be on a journey to go from part-time to full-time as an artist. And like I've said in previous videos, I feel like I'm actually just trying to not get completely demolished at this stage. That's how it feels. So yeah, the struggle is real. I'll be continuing with it next time. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.